So Pew Research re-released a poll on Muslims and Islam. I think they originally did this in 2013 or 2014. And I want to go over the findings with you because I think this is very relevant to the current political debate that's happening in the country. So the other day, Donald Trump said that we should ban all Muslims from entering the U.S. That's obviously bigoted. He is a bigot, and it's a terrible policy position. I mean, if he's, oh my God, I'm so scared of ISIS. Yeah, but Shia Muslims are fighting ISIS. ISIS wants to kill all the Shias. The Kurds, who are Sunni, are fighting ISIS, who are Salafi Sunnis. You have Sufi Muslims, who want nothing to do with jihad of any kind whatsoever. You have Ahmadiyya Muslims, who are incredibly moderate. This idea, ban all of them, it doesn't make any sense. But most of the people fighting ISIS right now are other Muslims, so it is a bigoted position, and it's fair to say that Donald Trump is somebody who has serious mental deficiencies. He's just not getting it, and he is generalizing, and that's something that we should all oppose. So we need to make a distinction, though, between attacking Muslims, people, okay, Muslims are people, so Donald Trump is doing that, versus something like attacking Islam, which is a doctrine, which is a set of beliefs, and it's a holy book, and it's an ideology. That's not the same thing. So I think it's fair to say if you generalize about Muslims, if you go after Muslims broadly speaking, chances are you could be a bigot. Donald Trump is that. But if you go after Islam, the doctrine, you just disagree with Islam. In the same way anybody would disagree with Christianity or Buddhism or Hinduism, somebody might slam the Bhagavad Gita. Does that make them a bigot? No. On the contrary, it probably makes them logical and accurate and rational in their disagreeing with old school absurd myths. Same thing with the Quran, it gets no special treatment. Okay, so there's a distinction to be made here. Now, first let's go into this issue of Sharia law. For everybody listening on the live show and you can't see the chart here, these are disturbing numbers. It says many back Sharia as official law. This is the median percentage of Muslims who favor enshrining Sharia. In South Asia, it's 84%. So we're talking there about places like Pakistan and Afghanistan, to name a few. In Southeast Asia, it's 77%. In the Middle East and North Africa, it's 74%. In Sub-Saharan Africa, it's 64%. And then the biggest drop-off, you have Southern and Eastern Europe, 18%, the small Muslim communities there. And in Central Asia, it's 12%. But no doubt, man, these are troubling numbers, because what that means is 84% of Muslims in South Asia are in favor of theocracy. 77% in Southeast Asia, they're in favor of theocracy. This is a theocratic position, and people who are secular liberals are by definition against theocracy, because theocracy is an attempt to take religious law and put it on to everybody. Now, let's get more specific here. Pew goes on to say, quote, overwhelming percentages of Muslims in many countries want Islamic law, Sharia, to be the official law of the land. Moreover, Muslims are not equally comfortable with all aspects of Sharia. While most favor using religious law in family and property disputes, fewer support the application of severe punishments, such as whippings or cutting off hands in criminal cases. The survey also shows that Muslims differ widely in how they interpret certain aspects of Sharia, including whether divorce and family planning are morally acceptable. Now, it gets weird because at other parts of the poll, they also say that they believe in democracy and religious freedom. So, wait. You say you believe in theocracy, Sharia, in overwhelming numbers, but then in other parts, like, yeah, we believe in democracy, though, too. No, that's a contradiction. You can't have it both ways. You have to pick one or the other. And then also, strong majorities say that suicide bombing is never justified. So these are, this is Pew giving their caveats and their hedges, and they're saying it's a little more complex than it appears at face value because people use different interpretations of Sharia. Now, either way, you shouldn't fucking believe in Sharia. Even if you're a Muslim, you can be a secular Muslim and not believe in theocracy. Theocracy is religious law, and by definition, you are oppressing others if you make them live under Sharia. Guys, even if it's other Muslims, you're oppressing them if you say, I am going to implement my interpretation of Sharia. Well, what if there's another Muslim who says, it's a gay Muslim, for example. They're like, I just don't know. I don't agree. I don't think I should be oppressed because I'm gay and I'm a Muslim and I'm living under this system. So what do you do in that situation? I mean, the only logical thing to do, even if you are a Muslim, is to say, we got to throw out Sharia because there's different interpretations of the religion from within the religion. So if one person says, I'm the only one that has the right interpretation, that person is a fundamentalist, that person is a literalist, and that person shouldn't be in control of society. So, guys, you got to understand, secularism is the compromise. I've spoken about this before. Secularism is everybody do whatever they want, and nobody can take their religious law and force it on other people through the government. So it is the compromise. It is the middle ground. It is being neutral. Because what you're saying is, okay, so you want to be a Muslim, sir? Go right ahead. You want to be a Christian, sir? You want to be a Buddhist? You want to be a Hindu? You want to be agnostic? You want to be atheist? You can be whatever the fuck you want to be. As long as you don't take your interpretation of your doctrine and belief system and say, I'm going to force it on everybody through the government. You have the freedom to believe whatever the fuck you want to believe, but once you force it on other people, oh, fuck no. Now we have our disagreement, and now's where everybody's going to say, fall back, son. All right, so they say they strongly believe in Sharia, but not everybody is 100% clear on what's in Sharia, but let's get more specific here because there are absolutely troubling things. So let's go to the issue of atheists. They say, is it necessary to believe in God to be a moral person? Look at those fucking numbers. 94% of Muslims in Southeast Asia say, by definition, you are an immoral person if you're an atheist, if you don't believe in God. 91% in the Middle East and North Africa, 87% in South Asia, 70% in Sub-Saharan Africa, 69% in Central Asia, in Southern and Eastern Europe, 61%. Now, to be fair, the numbers are really shitty for the U.S. as well. I don't think it's as bad, and for Christians, I don't think it's as bad, but it's still bad. And the takeaway is there's one remaining group that everybody's cool with being a bigot against, atheists. If you're an atheist, virtually nobody is defending you. And people are saying, in overwhelming numbers, no, by definition, you are immoral because you don't believe. Guys, if somebody's an atheist, that doesn't link up with, it's not the same thing as saying, I am immoral. An overwhelming majority in these areas are bigoted against atheists. This is anti-atheist bigotry. That's not okay. It's not okay to just say, but they're all bad. That's just as wrong as people saying all Muslims are bad everywhere in the world. And again, let's be clear, in the U.S., the American Muslim community would not, they do not have numbers that are this bad. But this is inexcusable no matter how you slice it or dice it. Atheists are the punching bag of the world. Okay, whatever. I'm going to say, by definition, you are immoral because you're an atheist. All right, next. More specifics. This is, so again, you say, well, Muslims say they believe in Sharia, but, that doesn't mean that they believe in all the specifics. Well, here they asked a specific question. Stoning as punishment for adultery. Oh boy. Now you see in Southern and Eastern Europe, it's one case. Those numbers are still too high, by the way. Russia, 26%, Kosovo, 25%, Albania, 25%, Bosnia, 21%. Central Asia, the numbers tick up a little bit even more. Tajikistan, 51%. You go down the line there. Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Turkey. In Turkey, it's 29%. That's still way too high, and Turkey is one of the more secular Muslim nations. Then you go to Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. 60%, 51%, 48%. Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh. 89% in Pakistan say stone people for adultery. 85% in Afghanistan. 55% in Bangladesh. In the Palestinian territories, 84%. Egypt, 81%. Jordan, 67%. Iraq, 58%. Lebanon and Tunisia, 46% and 44%. Guys, that's not okay. That's not okay. it's not okay. Okay, it's just my belief, bro. Don't come after me for my beliefs. All I'm saying is that if somebody else does adultery, we should stone them to death. No, but that's not a defensible position. I mean, it's not even illegal in the West to do that. People might look down on you and stuff, but it's not even illegal. Why? Because it's none of your fucking business. That's why. How is that moral? Wouldn't any rational person say, yeah, okay, whatever, maybe it was a bad thing that you cheated and that you did adultery. But you know what would be more immoral than that? If we fucking throw stones at your face until you die in response to it. You don't think that would be more immoral? But that's the thing, at least for these numbers here that we just went over. Those are people who were raised in a context where they were, told, no, that is immoral, and they were taught that based on religion, and so they go, well, I guess got to be true. My parents are good people. They told me that this is the case, and, since they're good people, why would they lie to me? They love me. They just raised me to believe what's right. So, no, that is the right thing to do. So it is the religious doctrine itself that can make people, whether it's the Quran or the Hadith or the Bible or any other, it can make people believe that incredibly immoral things are the moral thing to do. Well, I'm here to tell you it's bullshit. It's immoral. Your innate sense is more accurate than the nonsense you were taught from primitive desert books filled with savagery and nonsense and fairy tales. It's Mother Goose, it's Narnia. Do you know what's in your books? I mean, for fuck's sake, in the Bible, they allude to the earth being flat. They have 7-headed dragons in there. They say it's an abomination to wear a mix of 2 different fabrics. You're not allowed to work on Sunday. You can't eat pork or shellfish. Nonsense! In the Quran, Muhammad flies on a winged donkey. That's absurd and stupid. There are bright yellow cows in the Quran. They say Christians, given enough time, they become pigs. Or was that Jews who become pigs? And atheists are deaf, dumb, and blind. Hello, I'm an atheist. Am I deaf, dumb, and blind? No, I'm right here. I'm not deaf, dumb, and blind. So it's not true. It's not correct. It's inaccurate, is what I'm trying to point out. Never mind all the contradictions. But people believe it because they were taught it based on a fucking fairy tale book full of myths. We gotta bust that up, and that's the point, guys. I'm arguing against the ideology. I'm arguing against the doctrine. That's accuracy. That's not bigotry. It's only bigotry if you're anti-Muslim as people. I'm not against the people. I'm against the doctrine. I'm against the ideas. And some people say, they think they're cute, and they're like, well, that's no different than when the Christians say I'm against the sin but not the sinner when it comes to gay people, for example. No, it's totally different, because being gay is a sexual orientation, something that the person cannot help. It just is who they are. When it comes to believing in doctrine, that's an idea. It's a concept where if they were taught it, they can be untaught it. And we can tell them it's wrong, and we can convince them given enough time and effort. So it's not the same thing. You can be anti-Islamic doctrine, but not anti-Muslim as people, and I am. Somebody like Donald Trump is a bigot. He's anti-Muslim, period. Somebody like me is accurate to be anti-Islamic doctrine because it's not true, but not anti-Muslim. All right, more. So, I need everybody to understand. And this isn't, you got to understand, man, I'm against all irrational dogmatic beliefs. So 57% of Republicans, for example, want to dismantle the Constitution and put in biblical law. 57%. Okay, that's fucking stupid. I'm against that as well, and I will rant and rave against that because it's dumb, and also 47% of Christians in the U.S. think that Jesus is coming back soon. Well, that's another thing I'm going to argue against, because that also has negative consequences. Like, for example, when you talk to these people like John Hagee, Michelle Bachmann, they'll tell you, we're in favor of letting Israel and Netanyahu take over all the land and oppress the Palestinians, because in the Bible, Israel has to have all the land in order for Jesus to come back in end times. So they're okay with oppressing Palestinians because of their religious beliefs, which say that all the land is Israel's and the Palestinians got to get out of the way. The real world consequences to bad beliefs, that's also something that we need to oppose. And there's a grain of truth in the argument that Donald Trump and the bigots on the right are becoming more popular because liberals, in some cases, are blurring the distinction between Islam and Muslims. And bottom line is this, guys. If you protect both, you're making a mistake, and you are empowering crazy people on the right to become more popular. So the right thing to do is not to take the Republican position, or the far right position, I should say, which is Islam bad, Muslims bad. That's their position. You don't take the opposite, which is Muslims good, Islam good. What's the real answer? Muslims good, Islam, the doctrine, bad. So we need to stop blurring that line and saying, you know, hey, you're anti-Islam, that makes you bigoted. No, being anti-Muslim makes you bigoted. Being anti-Islam makes you accurate, because you're talking about how the doctrine is not true and potentially very, very dangerous, and these poll numbers prove it. And then the final thing I want to mention is, guys, don't get it twisted. This is not an either or. So a lot of people like to make a false choice out of this, and they say to you, either you can attack this, Muslim fundamentalism, or American imperialism. You can't attack both. To which I say, that's fucking ridiculous. Of course I can attack both. So I can be against Islamic fundamentalism, and I am. I hate all these poll numbers. I could be against Christian fundamentalism, and I am. I'm totally against that. And I could also be against state terrorism, if you will. American imperialism. So I'm against these numbers, and I'm also against Israeli apartheid and Netanyahu blocking a two-state solution and the oppression of the Palestinians. Totally against that. I'm against the war in Iraq, which broke the region and made the Salafist extreme Islamic ideology more popular. I'm against that as well. I'm against our 900 military bases around the world, which further inflame tensions with Muslims. I'm against torture, which is a great recruitment tool for jihadists. I'm against Guantanamo Bay, which is an extrajudicial prison, which is against our values. I'm against support for the Saudi Arabian government, which is a Salafist terror state. So you can be against both things at the same time, which is why it's okay. You have permission to enjoy the work of Noam Chomsky, Glenn Greenwald, and yes, Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris. There's no contradiction there. A lot of people want to make you believe there is a contradiction. Pick a side! Pick a side! But no, the answer is to be against all religious extremism and fundamentalism and acknowledge the problem and argue against the ideology. And you can also argue against the obvious problem with American imperialism and state terrorism.